Hello, my name is Kevin Gerlach, and this is my report on global warming. My argument for my report is that human intervention has affected our global climate and helped cause global warming. This will have a lot of negative effects unless humanity decides to take action to stopping global warming. In this presentation, I will state a universally accepted definition of global warming, provide evidence that global warming is in fact happening, provide evidence that humans are causing global warming, list the future effects of global warming, and finally, I will list the ways that the average person can help prevent global warming. Now, the average person might ask, what is global warming? Well, global warming is defined as an increase in the Earth's average atmospheric temperature that causes corresponding changes in the climate that may result from the greenhouse effect. And the greenhouse effect is an atmospheric heating phenomenon caused by short-wave solar radiation being readily transmitted inward through the Earth's atmosphere, but longer wavelength heat radiation less readily transmitted outward, owing to its absorption by atmospheric carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, and other gases. By combining the two definitions, we can gather that during the greenhouse effect, the longer-wave heat radiations get trapped inside the atmosphere by carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor, thus leaving the heat radiation inside the atmosphere and causing the average atmospheric temperature to rise, which causes changes in the climate. Now that we know what global warming is, how do we know that it's happening? Well, the main way we can tell the world is currently going through global warming is by looking at the differences in the climate over a period of time. According to an article written on NASA's, which is the National Aeronautics and Space Administration's website, we can see some of the evidence for rapid climate change, which is exactly what global warming does. The article states that all three major global surface temperature reconstructions show that Earth has warmed since 1880, and that most of the warming has occurred since the 1970s, with the warmest 20 years having occurred since the 1970s, with the 20 warmest years having occurred since 1981, and with all the 10 of the warmest years occurring in the past 12 years. Another point listed on the article is the shrinking of the ice sheets, which states that the ice sheets are melting and that the data from NASA's Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment prove this by showing that Antarctica lost about 152 cubic kilometers or 36 cubic miles of ice between 2002 and 2005. This article also lists many other reasons such as sea level rise, warming oceans, declining Arctic Sea, and glacial retreat. So the evidence for rapid climate change is there and has been studied by top scientists at NASA. Some people might argue that these are naturally occurring, so now we must look at humanity and see how these effects correlate with our history. So now we have to ask, how do we know that humans have contributed to global warming? Well, the best method to determine if humanity has had an impact on global warming is to study the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere over a period of time in which humanity prospered and began industry. According to Dr. Tapio Schneider, who is a climate scientist at the California Institute of Technology, he did a study on the amount of carbon dioxide in the air over the past 650,000 years. He states that the atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations are higher today than at any time in the past 650,000 years. He goes on to compare the rise in carbon dioxide with the boom of industry by saying the levels of carbon dioxide are about 35% higher than before the Industrial Revolution, and this increase is caused by human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels. So it's completely true that humans have been contributing to global warming. And in this next slide, we see that skeptics may believe that it's impossible to measure carbon dioxide levels that were 650,000 years ago, but he goes on to explain that we can measure atmospheric concentrations of greenhouse gases in bubbles of ancient air preserved in ice, and that ice core records currently go back to 650,000 years. So now that we know that humans have contributed and what is global warming, we need to know, why should I care? I mean, global warming, how does it affect me right now? Well, the main reason you should care about global warming is that the long-term effects could be catastrophic to the human race. Dr. Sean Marshall, a research chair in charge of climate change for Canada and a University of Calgary professor of geography, did a study about what our Earth could look like in the year 3000 if we do nothing about global warming. He got his data from using current climate trends that we are experiencing to predict what will happen by the year 3000. If nothing happens, and also what happens if we don't do anything, as well as if we become emission-free. So the results of his study came back, and he basically described that if we do nothing, then researchers estimate a collapse of the West Antarctic sheet by the year 3000 and an eventual rise in the global sea level of at least 4 meters. And then he keeps on describing what happens if we do nothing by saying that the winds in the global south the southern hemisphere, that is, tend to strengthen and stay strong without reversing. This increases the mixing in the ocean, bringing more heat from the atmosphere down and warming the ocean. So basically, it's mixing together and warming up the oceans, and this will cause, more energy to be in the ocean, causing the ocean to evaporate, which creates warm, moist air. And so, with warm air and more ocean covered, this is a terrible recipe for devastating hurricanes that could wipe out, civilization as we know it. But, the average person might be asking, all right, that's all well and good, but what can I do to do it? Well, there are a number of things the average person can do. On a website called DoSomething.org, they have an entire list of easy things that people can do to help fight global warming. The average person can save up to $98 and 2,000 pounds of carbon dioxide per year just simply by adjusting your thermostat down 2 degrees from what it's normally set to. And this is, 2,000 pounds, that's a whole ton of carbon dioxide. So it's very important that, everyone does their part. If everyone lowered their thermostat 2 degrees in the wintertime and raised it up 2 degrees in the summertime, we could save a ton of carbon dioxide per household. So it's very important that we look at stuff like this and see what we can do. And other ways we can also do it is using compact fluorescent light bulbs, because by replacing normal light bulbs with compact fluorescent bulbs, you will save 300 pounds of carbon dioxide and $60 a year on just having 3 fluorescent light bulbs alone. So your electric company will probably hate you, but you're doing the earth a huge favor. So, and another, 2 more other things you can do is you can fill the dishwasher, meaning don't run it if you're putting in 3 plates. Put in, fill it to the brink. By doing that alone and not just, filling it up with 2 plates, you can save $40 through water and electricity, and also 100 pounds of carbon dioxide emission a year, which helps a ton. So, and the last thing you can do is, take shorter showers, because showers account for 2/3 of all water heating costs. Cut your showers short and you can save $100 and 350 pounds of carbon dioxide a year. So basically, in conclusion, humans have affected the world's climate by contributing to global warming through greenhouse gases. We know that global warming is happening due to increased rapid changes in our climate, and we also know that humans have affected the environment through greenhouse gases that come as a result of industry. Without any action in stopping global warming, we can expect to see our seas rise and also increase in temperature, which could cause catastrophic hurricanes to arise, among other things, by the year 3000. However, the average person can do a number of things in helping to fight against global warming, such as filling the dishwasher completely before using, adjusting the thermostat, and using compact fluorescent bulbs. It should be everyone's goal to eliminate global warming and to create a great, clean, habitable world for our future generations, especially since we are responsible for creating the problem of global warming in the first place through the Industrial Revolution. And we also want to make sure that it's safe for our kids in the future to grow up. So basically, in the words of Captain Planet, a cartoon I used to watch as a kid, where he was all about conserving and being green, the power is yours. It's up to you to go out and make change. It's not, you can't just sit around and do nothing. And so lastly, here we have my works cited, where I list all of the places where I got my information. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for listening.